All right, now we've known for a long time that the Browns coaches have to bring their game plan to the front office and they go through it somehow, whatever. We know that, but I didn't really put much stock into it. I said they probably just discuss it, they don't tweak it. And I don't think they were tweaking it until this year. Because we all know Kevin Stefanski is a horrible coach, but he was never this bad as he is this year. I want you guys to think of this. The old Kevin Stefanski was the most conservative play caller ever. He would blow leads to the Tennessee Titans, to the Dallas Cowboys. He would have blown the Steelers playoff lead. We all know that. He would never take the deep shot. Never. We hated how conservative he was. I mean, case in point, the playoff game. Mayfield was actually playing good that game against the Chiefs. He ran the most 7 conservative plays I've ever seen, and we never got the ball back. Remember how conservative it was? Everything was underneath. Didn't give Mayfield a chance to even take a shot. Yesterday, with the game on the line and a backup quarterback who's horrible, he takes a deep shot. And he threw a dime, and it was pass interference, and I thought it was a cheap call, but he threw a dime. That is not Kevin Stefanski. That is not Kevin Stefanski. Remember Dalvin Cook said you're going to love this guy because he likes to pound the rock? Remember Stephon Diggs wanted out of Minnesota because he had the worst year? I think he had 62 catches under Stefanski. That's the Kevin Stefanski that we had come to Cleveland. And everybody, oh, he's a great coach, rookie of the year, coach of the year, whatever. And I never thought he was a good coach. I thought he was just average at best. I never even liked him, but whatever. That was the Kevin Stefanski we all come to see coach this team. Conservative. He would take the 3 points. Not a gambler. Sometimes he'd go for it, something depending on the field position. Very bland. We'd fight out a 20-16 win, whatever. We'd get a big lead, and we'd sit on the lead, and we'd almost lose. And the Titans almost lost that game, almost lost to the Cowboys. That's the Kevin Stefanski. But this year, it's different. Paul depotesta is calling the shots. Kevin Stefanski brings his game plan. I think Paul depotesta tweaks it based on his analytics. Kevin Stefanski calls the game based on Paul depotesta's analytic approach. That's how it's going right now. Because if you look at what's going on in all these bad calls Stefanski's having during the course of the game, he's had 1 or 2, and you're like, what would he make these calls? But he's having 5 or 6 mistakes a game. And we know he's not this dumb. He's not this dumb. I started thinking, man, he's got too many of them. They're just multiplying. That's Paul depotesta, somebody that don't understand football. That's who's making these calls right now. Everything that's because you see Stefanski. I think he's doing it reluctantly. Remember, he was smiling after the Chiefs game. I think he's sitting there saying, to me, that look was like, why am I following this idiot? That's what I think he's saying to himself. I think that's what he's doing. I think he wants to come out and break free of it, but I just think he has too much respect for depotesta. I truly believe, I guarantee you that's going on. Because Kevin Stefanski was never like this. Never like this. He was, Nick Chubb, we're like, he's running them there. It was just a boring 2 tight end offense. Now he's got Jacoby Brissett spreading the field out all over the place. He's opening the game, throwing the ball over the place. That was not Kevin Stefanski. He ran the most lame 2 tight end set. It was the boringest tight ends it was so bad. And then we blamed it on Mayfield because Mayfield sucked. And Mayfield did suck, don't get me wrong. But that was how he coached. And then all of a sudden this year, we got a backup quarterback. He's throwing the ball all over the field. And crucial crunch time. See, I think that 3rd and 2 yesterday, this is why it was analytic. See, I do believe that was an analytical call when you think about it. 3rd and 2, game's on the line. They're going to be playing press up close. They're not going to be playing the pass, put it that way, because analytics say, this is how dumb analytics is and don't belong in football. Analytics will tell you, well, they're going to be playing against the run. We'll take a shot here. It has a 90% success rate or whatever some dumbass thinks. That's an analytical call right there. Because Kevin never took that shot. And I also think it's affecting the defense too, because if you ever notice something, last year we had breakdowns the first game of the season. That was it. And that was because we had all new guys. This year, how many breakdowns have we had defensively? How many breakdowns have we had defensively? It's all analytical. Everything that's going on is analytical. It's all Paul depotesta. All Paul depotesta. He has destroyed this team, and Jimmy Haslam, you can no longer. I think Jimmy Haslam is clueless to what's going on. I cracked the Ivy code. Someone brought it to my attention, and I already knew that he was bringing a game plan, but I didn't really put much. They're not doing nothing with it. They're just going over it. But then I started thinking about it after they told me this, because I was like, there's no way this is happening, because if this was happening, Kevin Stefanski would just say, I'm not doing it no more, Jimmy. You can fire me, but I'm going to the media, and I'm telling them how your organization's run if you fire me or something. He could have got out of it. He could have. But I think he has so much respect because he's an Ivy leaguer like Paul depotesta, and I think he wants to get out of it. But I think I think he's probably tried to get out of it with depotesta, but I think depotesta has such an ego he won't allow him to. It's true. Because you know how they say Kevin doesn't have an ego? I think Kevin, and it looks like he has an ego. I think he wants to get out of this so bad, but he can't. And like I said, it's affecting the defense. So there's at least a dozen breakdowns this year. We had one or two in the first game last year. That was it. Your problem in Cleveland is Paul depotesta. Jimmy Haslam, you have to get this situation taken care of. Because you remember how we would pound games out, the boringest offense. We had the boringest offense ever, but we were winning. We were fucking winning. Now, we suddenly transitioned under Paul depotesta with a backup quarterback throwing the ball all over the fucking yard. Doesn't make any sense. Kevin Stefanski is not that dumb. I've never been a fan of Kevin, but he is not this dumb. If he's this dumb, then you hired the wrong guy from the get-go. But the facts are, he's never coached this way prior to this year. And that's a sad fact. If you fire depotesta today, Jimmy Haslam, you can win this division still. Easily. I'm saying you fire him right now, Kevin goes back to coaching like he did before, we win this division easily. Nick Chubb gets 20 carries every fucking game. The boring offense comes back, but guess what? The wins start coming. But as long as depotesta's there, we're not going to win 3 or 4 more games the rest of the year, because you can't call football games on analytic approach, and that's what's happening. All these play calls Stefanski's doing is based on an analytical approach. Well, what's this defense going to be in? You got to factor in the time, what's going on, how much time's left in the game, or the momentum. Analytics don't take that into account. You can't have analytics in football. You can't. You just can't. Not the way they're using it. There are times you can use analytics where you go for 2 rather than 1, yeah. But what they're using in Cleveland, they're basing their whole schematics on it, their whole play calling. Their whole organization is based on some economics major, Paul depotesta, fucking this team up. And it's unacceptable, Jimmy Haslam. And why the fuck won't Mary Kay Cabot, Tony Grossi, Jason Lord, any of these Cleveland media clowns come out here? Because, I mean, don't tell me you guys didn't see what's going on, because you know that they were bringing their game plan into Paul depotesta, and it took me 5 minutes to figure this out. Literally 5 minutes I started thinking about it. So I think you guys kind of know, and I think Jim Donovan knows, because I think Jim Donovan was actually suspended from, they said he had laryngitis. I think he was suspended for, he said something bad about the organization, and Jimmy Haslam, the organization, is very sensitive over stuff like that. I think Paul depotesta had him suspended. That's how emotional. I think Paul depotesta is so sensitive about this analytic approach, and I think Jimmy Haslam might be catching on to it, and I think that's why he suspended, what's his name? Our boy. Because I got to tell you, I'm not answering that. That's my brother. But I got to tell you, what's going on right now in Cleveland is all Paul depotesta, and he's killing the franchise. And I'm not standing for it no more. Jimmy Haslam, you got fans out here seeing what's the problem is right now. I just laid it down for you. Kevin Stefanski was not this bad of a coach the first 2 years. Last year was an anomaly because of injuries, whatever. But Kevin was not this bad. We're 2-5 right now, and it's because of Paul depotesta. Personally, I'd like to see you fire them both. But the more logical thing would be to fire depotesta today, get rid of him, and let Kevin go back to coaching like he did the first 2 years. Because we can win the division that way easily. There's no doubt in my mind. But as long as depotesta's calling the shots, we don't have a shot in hell. And Kevin Stefanski, I know I don't have any respect for you for allowing this to happen to you. I don't. And I understand you probably like depotesta, your Ivy League nerds, this and that, but it's time. It's time to tell them to fuck off. I'm going back to coaching the way I know how to coach, because unless you truly are this clueless of a coach, and I don't think you are, I can't fathom you would be this clueless. You remember the games, all the games that Stefanski was just almost blowing the leads, the Tennessee Titan game, the fucking Dallas game. He would have blew the Steelers game. And go back to the Kansas City Chiefs game, the playoffs. Where was that deep shot then? Perfect time to call it. He called the most 7 conservative plays. Think about that. Where's that deep shot then? That's Paul depotesta. Kevin never took deep shots. Ever. The most conservative play caller ever. So, yeah, I cracked the Ivy code. Jimmy Haslam, you're welcome. I've told you what to do to get this franchise back. The longer depotesta's there, and you see the players, they know about it. I guarantee the players know. That's why they're fighting after the game. That's why there's all these breakdowns. The analytics, depotesta, get rid of them.